I had been working as a technician in a well-known company in China for 10 years. During that time, I rarely returned to my hometown. Every time I received a message from my younger sister, Dina, it was always the same. "Brother, when are you coming home? Mum and Dad miss you." But that morning was different. At exactly 7:30 a.m. on January 21st, 2015, my phone vibrated. A message from Dina. As soon as I opened it and read the words, my chest tightened and my eyes widened in shock. "Brother, Mum and Dad are gone." My hands trembled. I read the message over and over, hoping I had misread it. But no, it was real. Without hesitation, I immediately applied for my annual leave and booked a flight back to Indonesia. The journey from China to my hometown felt unbearably long. When I finally arrived in the village, it was already 10 p.m. The streets were eerily quiet, with only the occasional sound of crickets and the whisper of the night breeze. I hadn't been home in 5 years. As I stood in front of our house, something felt off. The house looked darker and more run down, as if it hadn't been lived in for a long time. The paint was peeling, the wooden fence looked weathered, and the once neat yard was overgrown with weeds. I knocked on the door several times. No answer. I knocked again, harder. Still, silence. Anxiety crept into my chest. "Din, it's me, your brother. Open the door," I called out. Suddenly, I heard a slow, creaking sound. The door opened. Standing there in the doorway were Dina, Mum, and Dad. They smiled faintly. I froze for a moment, feeling a wave of relief and joy wash over me. Without a second thought, I rushed forward and hugged them tightly. At that moment, a thought crossed my mind. Dina must have pranked me. She knows I hardly come home, so she made up that story about Mum and Dad passing away just to get me to come back. I felt slightly annoyed, but mostly I was just grateful that they were all okay. But something was strange. Their bodies felt cold, not the usual coolness of night air, but a deep piercing chill, as if they had just stepped out of a freezing room. Yet, I was too exhausted to dwell on it. I was just happy to see them again. Mum didn't say a word. She simply gestured toward a room, signaling that it was mine. Understanding her silent cue, I went inside and collapsed onto the bed, falling asleep instantly without even having a proper conversation with them. The next morning, after washing up, I walked to the kitchen. On the dining table, a plate of steaming hot rice and side dishes was waiting for me. I smiled, feeling grateful. Without hesitation, I dug in. Strangely, neither my sister nor my parents joined me for breakfast. I figured Dina had gone to school and Mum and Dad had left early for the fields. After finishing my meal, I decided to visit our closest neighbor, whose house was about 100 meters away. When I arrived, I was greeted by Mr. Surya, an old family friend who used to work with my father. However, as soon as he saw me, his expression changed. "Riyan, you came back?" he asked hesitantly. "Yes, sir. I just arrived last night," I replied casually. Mr. Surya looked at me with an odd expression, as if he was seeing something that shouldn't exist. Then, in a soft, sorrowful voice, he said, "We're all so sorry for your loss, Riyan. May you find the strength to endure it." I frowned. "Loss?" Mr. Surya nodded slowly. "Your parents and sister. They passed away a month ago, Riyan. Your house burned down completely. We were all there at their funeral." My blood ran cold. My head pounded. My mind reeled. I let out a nervous chuckle, trying to dismiss it as a misunderstanding. "Sir, I slept in my house last night. I ate breakfast there this morning. I even met them." Mr. Surya shook his head, his face turning even paler. "Son, your house is gone. What we saw last night, you were sitting alone in the ruins, talking to yourself, laughing by yourself. We all saw it, but no one dared to come close. My heart pounded in my chest. A cold sweat trickled down my temple. If they were already gone, then who had I spent the night with?